I wanted to take a moment here to have an in-depth conversation about digital security. And when I say in-depth, this is really going to be more high level. I'm going to piece it together after I put out a few more videos and then just have some more feedback and comments on it. But a lot of individuals at this point are rightly so scared that their data is being tracked. And we absolutely know it's being tracked because we've watched the loon balloons that were converted to DoD contracts float across our sky and Germany. Those are the only two countries they seem to be floating across. We know they're doing surveillance. We know that we can see the man in the middle technology being used on airplanes, specifically when they were doing recounts in Arizona, when different events are happening in different parts of the country. You can highlight what's going on by watching the skies and figure out what kind of loops or technology or equipment is on the planes that are in that area. We are definitely being tracked. We also know that the various phone companies have admitted to selling the data that they scrape from our phones. In fact, the FTC just came out and said, hey, wait a minute, you can't sell the data locations of the phones. Now, why would the FTC care? It's an open capitalist system. If you have data that you scraped, you sell it. That's what's going on. Well, they only care because of the controversy between being able to track people all the way to the point of going in an abortion clinic, but you can't track them if they went to one of those portable places where you want to give your opinion. So the FTC steps in because they're part of this agency, this administration, and say, no, you can't do that anymore. Right? Can you see the corruption is just scattered? And therefore, probably you, like many other people, are looking for other options. One of the first conversations that I have with individuals is to be realistic. We know we're being tracked. We know every conversation is being monitored. We know our images, our fingerprint, our medical records, our school information, our social security number, our banking information, our emergency list, our neighbors. That's all been gathered decades ago. That was mapped out thanks to legal services. It was amazing just 15 years ago when I typed in somebody's name in the government and saw a whole web of network extending for generations and neighbors. And if you clicked on a neighbor of somebody that you're looking at, you could then find out everything about their children and their grandchildren, where they lived and where they worked and how much money they owned and what kind of library books they, it's all there, it's all gathered. And now with these monster data gathering centers, they're capturing on such a massive level and they're waiting for quantum computers to really catch up. Now, there's quantum computer capability on a low level, but not to the level that we know that will exist in just a few more years. So countries are grabbing data at a massive level. They are grabbing everything with the knowledge that in just a few years, they'll be able to crack anything that they can't crack now. So what I want to talk today is some solutions, but again, the conversation is about friction. If you're running a business or you want to communicate to somebody, people don't have time. We live in a fast food society. So if you send them something and it is so locked down that one click or two clicks and they can't get in it, or you force them to download something else, maybe an app or software in order to open, they're not going to open it. So be realistic because the data is out there. The only people that you're really preventing to access the data are amateurs. Anybody beyond that has access to all of it. Did you know something as simple as if you have Wi-Fi in your house, wireless internet, just the fact that the signal goes through the house, anybody can tell how many people are home at any given time based on the movement within the wave that is going through the house. So if somebody's surveilling your house, they can just monitor on a screen something as low tech as that. So yes, we are being tracked. That is the truth. I talk about education so that we can move beyond the fear and still live, but live as wisely as possible. So what I want to do today is focus on an alternative to the Google Drive. It's you're going to find it's rustic and low code, but it works great. It gives an idea of security and you have control over the data. So I'm going to get into that, but first I want to go to some other things that are really, really, we could say interesting or scary. So this is Fortinet. Anybody can look at threatmap.fortinet.com, FortiGuard.com, and see all of those going off. Now I had this running a little bit, and about an hour ago, the only activity was the United States attacking itself. And now we're seeing quite a bit coming out of South America there. We're seeing from Europe into the United States. We're seeing still most of the activity on the planet here, as far as the heat maps, are in the United States. And most of it, as I've been watching this morning, is DC attacking out to the other states. And interesting, see that location in California that's being hit? It was originally being hit from DC over and over again. And now we're seeing multiple locations. But each one of these is a cybersecurity attack. And I tell you, once you start breaking these down, this is better than TV. The verbiage down below gives the name of the attack or the type of the attack, the severity. There's quite a few critical there, and then the locations. Now, what's interesting is we're having a problem with a lot of servers and outages of, maybe a Facebook or a Google or something common. AWS can go down. A lot of these just aren't a problem within their look at that, California. That's just massive. You can imagine what that is, and it's probably hitting I would say probably something to do with the electric grid, because we're in the middle of a heat wave, and if you can take out the electric grid, look at that massive attack. You cannot tell me that we're not at war. Anyways, I'm going to move off this, but if any of you want to watch this today, threatmap.fortiguard.com, and you will see patterns of where the data is coming from. And what they do is they just ping and ping and ping and ping and ping until they finally hit a computer that's open. So that may not be the main target, but you have a laptop that is connected to somebody who's connected to somebody who you can get an email forwarded with bad code in it. It can eventually whittle on back through security and into a server. That is just massive. Look at that, all that coming out here. So anyways, this is something you can really rip apart. There's several different heat maps out there or threat maps out there to monitor, but we are under attack and we are attacking ourselves. And we know this from many levels. We have undermined ourselves over this last couple decades, to say the least, but couple years. We're the ones who destroyed our education system. We're the ones who destroyed our military. We're the ones who destroyed our administration, our leadership. This is done internally. Now you can say that there were bad actors around the planet, but no, the corruption is here. The setup was here. We are accountable for what's going on. If we would have looked at this map a few months ago, almost all the attacks were coming from the United States out to these other countries. They're just attacking back at this time. And what's that coming from? Look at that, all over it, massive attacks to the United States. And all they have to do is take down our electric grid, and that's it. You can't put gas in your car because the pumps won't work. You don't get water because the water filtration and disbursement utilities won't work. You don't get air conditioning. You don't get heat. You don't get lights at night. You don't get to run your computers. Commerce shuts down. There you go. So I would, if you're interested in that. So what I want to do is take a look at this. The government protects itself, or does it? Back in 2015, the United States Office of Personnel Management, also known as OPM, announced that it had been the target of a data breach targeting personnel records. Approximately 22.1 million records were affected, including records related to government employees. In fact, this was a military leak. This was an executive branch leak. This was people who had worked for the government, had been retired from the government. It was a very broad swatch of almost all the OPM records they had. And mine was in that batch. And you know what I got? When the media finally released it, because OPM withheld the data for a while, the media released it. No actual details were given. right? And then you pull FOIAs and you find out, well, the only details given were any biometrics attached, any social security number, birth dates, emergency, the whole files were breached. So then what they do is they have, you can sign up for some kind of a data security or protection plan, and they monitor your credit for the next 6 months. Well, if you're a bad actor, are you going to attack somebody within those first 6 months when you know that there's a plan coming out? No, you would either do it right away when the data is scraped, or even wait outside that 6 months. Because even if somebody's created, signed up for one of those services, it's going to expire. Most people don't renew. And then the major attacks started happening, and most of them were right about 1 year after. People can wait. And the attacks against these individuals have been massive. And I'll also say that it wasn't just a breach, it wasn't on accident. So what else do we have here? We have 1 hour ago, Associated Press posted huge Los Angeles Unified School District hit by cyber attack. Los Angeles School District is one of the largest school districts in the nation, if not the largest. Their information technology systems were targeted by an external attack during the Labor Day weekend. Despite the disruption, schools in the nation's second largest district were scheduled to open as usual. Since the identification of the incident, which is likely criminal in nature, we continue to assess the situation with law enforcement. Now, I'm going to tell you, our children have been a primary attack for years. These schools don't care. The schools don't care, and they won't spend the money to protect your child. But if you've enrolled a child in school, you know that you have to give a birth certificate, a social security number, address, parent signing off, vaccine, medical records, everything that encapsulates that child turns into what I keep terming a digital footprint. And you sell your child out. You can ask for the information to be masked, and even that individual may go ahead and approve it and mask it, as they agreed to do in my scenario. But then as soon as you leave, the next person grabs the files and unmasks it. There is no understanding or comprehension what they're even doing. But even so, when my son was getting ready to go to kindergarten, I started calling different districts. I called Palo Alto Unified School District, San Jose Unified School District, and San Diego Unified School District, all in California. The first two were in Northern California. The third was in Southern California. And I asked them about their data security department, because I thought I could get a job in that arena and then I could start monitoring and assist. And they say, well, we have an IT department. IT is not digital security. The skill set is extremely different. So I won't go into which one did what, but one told me that, well, that's good enough. One told me that they have a CFO and the CFO oversights that. The chief financial officer? No, of a major school district. And another one told me that they absolutely understand the need. They just hired 3 people for this role, but they got defunded within 4 months, so they let them all go. But bottom line is, none of the 3 major school districts in California, where the top digital security companies are located, are headquartered, even cared enough about the students to protect their data. And one step further, during lockdowns, when they passed out all these Chromebooks to everybody, the schools absolutely refused to lock them down for security. At best, their Gmail accounts that they passed out can only receive incoming emails from others within that network. So for instance, if you're in San Jose Unified, somebody from San Jose Unified can communicate with your child. Somebody without that address, like maybe myself, who doesn't have a job in that, cannot connect with my child on that email. Great, that's a good step. But what about locking down the rest of the laptop so that basic standard parent permissions exist? The level of addiction to computers, to technology, to video games went logarithmically higher as children sat at home by themselves with a computer and realized just one click away was something more fun than listening to that nagging teacher. They set them up to fail. And these cyber attacks, they don't have the infrastructure to stop. They don't have the knowledge, and they have They have people tying into their system who aren't educated on the dangers and how to prevent it. So here's another step I want to look at. The morning after, Meta gets fined $402 million. So what is this? Meta's Labor Day celebrations were cut short yesterday after the company was handed a $402 million fine by the European Union. Yes, the GDPR restrictions in Europe are at least standing up for their citizens and children. The United States is absolutely refusing to do it and refusing to honor it in other countries. I've gone through the scenario of an example of buying an Audi in Europe versus an Audi here. It's a totally different car because in Europe, they have to tell you what they're going to track. And then not only in general, but specifically, you have to sign on or off on each level of that tracking. Here, you either buy the car or you don't. And they don't even tell you all the levels of tracking. So in this case, a social network is believed to mishandle children's private data on Instagram. By now, Instagram knows of digital security and leaks and viabilities. They know GDPR requirements. And yet they are doing this on purpose. It is beyond an oversight. They are allowing access to their data, and they are allowing the data of our most vulnerable population to be scraped and sold and manipulated. So they would offer, in this case, business accounts to users as long as well as 13 years old. So when you sign into any of these, they always ask your birthday because it's part of a security. If you're younger than a certain age, then you're not able to make your own decisions. So there's rulings that decide that at different age ranks, you have different critical thinking skills. And yeah, don't laugh out loud on that one. But that's the idea. And so the risk would be diminished, or at least the person is giving, not knowingly giving consent. The risk is exposing their email addresses and phone numbers to a wider public. It's a violation of the block's GDPR regime. A Meta spokesperson said the fine related to settings changed more than a year ago, and it was reviewing the decision. More than a year, but these government agencies take so long to pull together data and research and understand what the break is. If you're working in a tech industry, you're getting paid 5x. But if you're working for a government, you're getting paid X. The same level of knowledge is not shared across the lines. And yet it takes them a while to figure it out, to track it, to violate, to put through the courts, to get through the system. And when they finally do, it becomes a tax. This is a tax. $402 million goes to the European Union. It doesn't go to any of those young children. It's just, hey, we got you. It's a setup to fail. And yet these companies continue to do it over and over and over again. This fine is the second largest ever handed out by the EU for a GDPR breach. The biggest, of course, was Facebook, now known as Meta, but it was under the Facebook name when that came out. I want to look down a little further on this one. Hackers buried malicious code inside the picture. This is actually really cool technology. I taught my son this years ago. It's something fun to play with. And I'm going to pull that tool up in a minute. There's many free tools you can do it. But the images captured, the images captured by the James Webb Space Telescope have been breathtaking, offering us a new insight into the heavens around us. Unfortunately, these snaps have also provided an easy target for hackers who have used the picture above as cover to smuggle malware into machines. As part of a phishing campaign, the image's large file size and popularity means people might not be as cautious downloading it as they are with other files sent to their inbox. Thankfully, you can stay safe if you remain wary of unsolicited emails, even the ones promising to share the untold secrets of the cosmos. So what they do is you can take any image you want and you can use software to bury code in it. And in fact, the code can be active. It can hop out of the picture and go active as a worm or a virus through your computer. So how do you do this? There are off-the-shelf stenography programs that are available to anybody. There's quite a few different ones. I just pulled up this one with a quick search. This is called Quick Stego, and it's produced by Quick Crypto. It's a free stenography software. Stenography is the science of writing hidden messages in such a way that no one part from the sender and intended recipient even realizes there's a hidden message there. Now, often when you look at a picture, you would have an understanding of the approximate file size, but even that's hard to tell because the more detail that goes into an image, it's going to change, and text adding into it is kind of like just lightly putting your finger on the scale. So it's a very easy way to hide malware. So this site will go through how it's done. It's a very, very simple process. You just upload your own picture. You would type in the text. You would essentially merge the text. There's a few buttons to click. And then you could email that image to your friend. Now your friend would just think it's a picture. But if in fact you tell them which software you used, and then they would have this on their computer, and it's a way to talk back and forth to one another. And so what I would suggest, if you're interested in something like this, make sure it's reputable software, make sure it's safe before you put on your machine, but just go to YouTube and type in this case, Quick Stego demonstration, and there are tons of videos that show you how to use the software. So again, it's really cool for the kids. And if you absolutely need to send something and you don't want individuals to know that it's there, this is one way to get that across the net. But as I said when we started, I want to talk about alternatives to Google Drive. And there's so many great options that we've become accustomed to, and many people are not aware that it was about 2007-ish when the federal government dropped Outlook and moved to Google email systems. So Google has been tracking and in control of government communication for a very long time. But as we continue to use their products because it's convenient, there's of course others out there. Yesterday, I posted an alternative to Microsoft Word. I posted LibreOffice as a suggestion. Here I'm posting CryptPad. And in this case, cryptpad.org. It's a full suite of applications. CryptPad provides a full-fledged Office suite with all the tools necessary for productive collaboration. Applications include rich text, spreadsheets, code markdown, Kanban, slides, whiteboard, and even forms. So I did a test of the forms yesterday, or over the weekend actually. It's not pretty and glittery and as polished as Google. But you know what? It gave people a sense of security. So I built a website. I put a call to action right in the middle of the website, and the click-through then took to the CryptPad link. And then individuals realized that it tells them that it's a secure site. So then it makes them feel better when they're going in and entering or answering the questions, that it's not only secure at their end, it's encrypted, and then it sits on in my case, it doesn't sit in the cloud, it sits on the instance on my computer. So there are ways to use tools that are not Google to move away from them for a number of reasons, but also to protect your data. Now, as I said, these are pretty rudimentary. They don't have the bells and whistles, but they pretty much work the same. With a few clicks here and there, you can identify how to use a tool. And like anything else, do a video search and you'll find somebody showing you how to use the tools. So this offers end-to-end encryption. All data on CryptPad is encrypted in the browser. This means no readable data leaves the user's device. Even the service administrators cannot see the content of the documents or the users. Private collaboration. CryptPad is built to enable collaboration. It synchronizes changes to documents in real time. Because all the data is encrypted, the service and its administrators have no way of seeing the content being edited and stored. Public money equals public code. CryptPad has been supported since 2016 by French and European research grants, such as BPI France, NLNet Foundation, NGI Trust, Mozilla open source support. We believe that public money should fund public code, so the service is fully open source. This means anyone can use, host, and modify the software. Funded by and for users. Here's the funding screen. There's transparency there. To keep CryptPad in a development and free for everyone. Everyone, you can, of course, donate, contribute, subscribe, however you see fit if you want to participate, but you don't have to link in your financial data to this if you don't want to. And then a little bit more information. And you can see even from the type code, it is pretty rudimentary. There's some others that are listed here. We're going to discuss moving forward. But for today, I just wanted to give an alternative to start pulling people off Microsoft like I did yesterday, LibreOffice, and then pulling people off the Google Drive, which an alternative is CryptPad. Now you're going to have other open source or end-to-end encrypted programs too. Please go ahead and post that so I can start researching and sharing with others as well. But these are the steps we can take to kind of break apart from the system. So here, many have asked me about SSD drives. There are a lot of products out there where you can secure your data locally. This is a little more high level, but essentially you're looking for, I don't like cloud unless it's just, trash that you're putting out there. But if it's anything of importance, you want your own server setup or removable drive or something that is going to allow you to protect your data and pull it off the net. Because even if your computer is off, if your Wi-Fi is on, your computer can still be accessed. So you want anything removable, like a removable SSD drive, so you can have your data secure, removed, and maybe even placed in a firebox or lockbox if needed. So there's quite a bit technology there, but that's getting a little bit more advanced. So I wanted to just take a moment here and go back to where we started. Look at all those internal attacks within the United States. Now, if you take that map and pull it out, you'll be able to highlight the core centers. As we go through the day, the attacks are getting stronger and stronger. And look, back in California, it is massive. Now, I've always wondered, how were the tech agencies allowed to grow so far and so fast and with such a wide amount of money? And I determined in my mind that it's got to be because they're so far from the political house in DC. So the distance allows them to, work freely, capital. But then once I realized their deep connection through DARPA with individual organizations like Homeland Security, but stronger with FBI and CIA, you see that there is no distance. It's a matter of hours from one plane to the other. They're constantly controlling Silicon Valley, and Silicon Valley just became a hotbed for psychological manipulations of the population, as we saw with Facebook, data gathering, and tracking of its citizens. And that term citizen is used lightly as we see the vocabulary is being changed and we are being gaslighted left and right, or gaslit. That we lost our role of citizenship a long time ago. We're known as taxpayers, the people that pay the bills for all these toys to attack ourselves. And this is just massive, and it's going to get worse. So your banking system, I'd have printouts of how much you have in the account so that if that grid goes down, you at least have evidence of what that amount was. Don't be worried today that this is happening, because this is happening every day. You can watch this over and over again. This is why major companies have hundreds or thousands of servers, and not just in one location, they have it around the planet. But look at the massive amount of brutal hacks going left and right. This is part of the war. And a lot of this war is what we call the unseen war. And it may just show up as a slight inconvenience when you go to use your credit card and it doesn't run through. But this is massive when our cell phones and communications go out. Man, it just makes your stomach crawl. All right, so anyways, there's a lot we can do to start protecting ourselves and control our own communication. Again, moving away from Google Drive, you have the opportunity to use something like CryptPad. If you want to have a little bit of fun with your kids, of course, you can use something like stenography. And if you need a more secure system in-house, some sort of a removable SSD would be a good choice. Now, these are just brief videos, kind of throwing things out there. You can do plenty of information and resource along the path and identify what is going to be most cost effective and simple for you. But I would suggest, if you're not using your computer, to turn it off and unplug it. I would turn off the Wi-Fi before you do that to limit access. Although I did note about 2 months ago, even though my computer was off, my Wi-Fi was off, and it was not plugged into the hardwire, my computer somehow connected itself to my next door neighbor's internet, who's got a secure system, and it downloaded data. And I watched that in real time. So these computers are being attacked left and right. And no matter how secure we think we are, they're smarter than us, because you might spend an instant thinking about this, and they spend all day, every day with one laptop, two laptops. They grow, they get hits. Now they have 5 desktops, and then they get a server, and then they grow, and the brute hacks continue and continue and continue. This is why the digital footprints that are created of you are long gone. But why are we selling out our children and thinking it's okay to put them into school and school districts that absolutely do not protect their data and actively sell it, as we're going to discuss with Parent Square and Kid Check and some of these other options that the schools are not even asking for opt-in, but selling your data to and assuming you're going to just be grateful to use it. Okay, once again, this is education, not fear. This is just letting you know to be aware of what is really going on and how you can start protecting yourself. This is truly, truly a brave new world.